Haha, this is going to be great. We have a number of things to talk about when it comes to Vancouver Canucks center Elias Pettersson. The likelihood that he gets traded, the price for what he could get traded for, and whether or not the Vancouver Canucks are kind of waiting for a Montreal Canadiens offer. That's certainly something to dive into. So, by the time this video is uploaded on YouTube, if there actually is a Pettersson trade, then okay, color me shocked. I wouldn't think that this would be something that comes out of nowhere. I would feel like there's some build-up to it. Maybe this is build-up, who really knows? But Elias Pettersson is a 27-year-old Vancouver Canucks center, 6'2", 185, signed till the end of 2032, making $11.6 million a year. Now that Nico Hischier on the New Jersey Devils is making more money per year than Petey at $11.7 million a year, I would probably say that Petey is not seen as that bad of a contract anymore. Or at least, I don't think he should be seen as that bad of a contract anymore. Hell, Bowen Byram is making $12.5. This guy ended up getting the bag. He's making the same amount of money as Connor McDavid. If Bowen Byram is making $12.5, then I can see a world where Elias Pettersson at 11.6 is not only, like, reasonable, it's actually just what it is. Like, it's sort of the territory that you have players in nowadays that happen to be top 6 or better. Nico Hischier, for what it's worth, had 66 points in 82 games last year. Elias Pettersson, yeah, he had a little bit less, but guess what? He's making less money than Nico Hischier, so it's fine, right? Anyways, we have some updates from various analysts and writers who made appearances on shows to talk about the latest on the Elias Pettersson trade talk. This is what Irfan Gaffar said on Daily Faceoff yesterday regarding Pettersson. There was a discussion within the Vancouver Canucks organization, supposedly, about salary retention. And one of these teams that was talking to Vancouver about retaining on Petey said they would give a second-round pick and a prospect. GMs are scared of the contract, and there are off-ice issues that hurt his value. However, I think this sentence, essentially they're referring to Pettersson's temperament and his ability to get shooken up by his teammates, I would assume. Pettersson himself, it's not like this guy has been touted as a bully or a problem in the locker room or anything. It's always been, too many guys are hard on Petey. JT Miller is too hard on Petey. And Pettersson is not responding well to it. Is that an issue in the locker room? Is that an off-ice issue? I don't really know how to define it 100%, but you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. However, Irfan Gaffar also says here that the Sedins want to work with Pettersson, and he also thinks that this goes past this summer. That obviously is a pretty great thing to hear because it's already been reported in this market as somewhat of an issue that the Sedins do not have the best relationship with Elias Pettersson. And I say, they don't have the best relationship. That makes it sound like they don't like each other or that there's beef. No, I don't think it's that. I don't think the Sedins have beef with anybody. But reports came out, primarily from Jason Brough, that supposedly Petey ain't all too close with the Sedins. And whether or not that's a good or a bad thing, that's up to you, but it was seen as something that a lot of Canucks fans were curious about, especially when you consider the fact that these are two legends in the organization, and Elias Pettersson is also Swedish. So, why wouldn't he be cool with the Sedins, right? Sedins want to work with this guy? How crazy is that, right? You're thinking about it. When was the last time the president of hockey ops directly was saying, yeah, we want to go out there and work with this top guy on the team who was underperforming because we want to make him better? Never mind 2 co-presidents of hockey operations. So, Irfan Gaffar's update talks about how a team was willing to give a second-round pick and a prospect. That obviously is a little too little for Vancouver, especially with salary retention. This is what Patrick Johnston went out there and said on Sekeres and Price yesterday, too. In order to retain and trade Pettersson, a second-round pick is not good enough, man. He at least plays defense. Pettersson is a player whom you are betting on for more. When it comes to strictly what he brings, Elias Pettersson brings fine hockey playing quality. He can get 50 to 60 points maybe if he's feeling good about himself that year. And if everything goes well, he could maybe 1 out of 10 chance get a 90-point season once more. But regardless of the point production, Pettersson gives good, solid defensive play. And even with the contract being seen as a risk, a second-round pick is not good enough for the Vancouver Canucks. He plays defense. You just want him to do more. PJ also said here at the bottom, the Canucks recognize that there are several teams like Montreal that need to take a big swing. Oh boy. The Montreal Canadiens, eh? Vancouver licking their lips, looking at the trade market, looking at Vinny Trocheck getting traded, looking at Dylan Larkin having a limited trade list, looking at Robert Thomas no longer being on the market and saying, yeah, Pettersson, this is our guy. Are you interested? Please go out there and take as much as you need to think about this guy and evaluate whether or not he fits onto your team. I'd say there's actually another squad that maybe fits the description here. Some teams that need to take a big swing. I'm going to point fingers to the Ottawa Senators. There was a post made on the R-Sens sub earlier last week asking whether or not Pettersson could be a potential acquisition for Ottawa. If the Sens gave the Canucks Zetterlund, who has a bad contract himself, and maybe some other assets, would it be worth it? I mean, there are some folks that are saying I'd pass on EP40. I'm open to it, but I think most fans are not really interested. Not down under any circumstances, even 50% retained. I had the same thought because Travis Green was his coach when he was good. I also think it would only take one of the first and a second to get him out of Vancouver. He's at the bottom of the list, but he is on there. I'd gamble on him. Too many red flags. It's all over the place with Ottawa. But then you also have the LA Kings, whose names are continuously being brought up in this Pettersson talk. There was an article published on Daily Hive as to whether or not the Kings are still the best bet to trade for Pettersson. Send him to development camp unless Quinton Byfield or Brant Clark are involved. It doesn't make sense for the Canucks, who would also have to retain salary. Honestly, Greg the Great says he'd like to just get a longer dated first, either 2029 or 2030, as part of the return, because things could blow up very quickly for LA. And I think that's a pretty nice way to think about it as well. Even if Elias Pettersson yields a trade return that nets some 2029, 2030, 2031 draft picks, at the very least, it opens up the possibility to Ryan Johnson and his vision being executed longer term rather than just focusing on the here and now. With that said, though, it doesn't seem like the Vancouver Canucks are in too desperate of a mindset to trade him, especially when you think about what Henrik and Daniel Sedin want to do with Elias Pettersson. They want to work with this guy. They want to make him better. But if an offer does come across their table, either from an Ottawa or an LA or a Montreal, that really blows their socks off because teams are desperate and they need to take a big swing, that is when Ryan Johnson will bust out the phones, potentially ask Pettersson, hey, would you be okay with going here? Maybe try to get his approval on something in the same way he did with Marcus Pettersson. And we'll move on from there. Who knows what happens with Elias over the next little while? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the Elias Pettersson trade talk? What are your thoughts on teams that could potentially take big swings like Montreal, LA, Ottawa? There are a bunch of others as well. I mean, Minnesota needs a center, but who do you think could come over to Vancouver from Minnesota after that Quinn Hughes trade was already done? Let me know your thoughts on the latest on these Elias Pettersson trade discussions. I hope you enjoyed this British Astral sign on. And bye.